Hi everyone, it's the first Tuesday in June, so that must mean RBA day, and yet again no change. So the cash rate stays at 1.5% and the narrative is exactly the same. Inflation is within target, there's a lack of wage growth, property prices are beginning to soften, and so as a consequence no need to move rates, and again we're still expecting some sort of move next year, but unlikely for anything to happen before then. Now on property prices, certainly we've seen some softening in Sydney and Melbourne, and in our local market here in Melbourne, there's no doubt that in the last 6 months prices have dropped off by somewhere between 5 and 10%. So the auction clearance rate is sitting around the 60% mark, and that's as weak as I can remember it. So certainly represents opportunities for buyers, a bit more painful for sellers, but as always, if you're buying and selling in the same market, then it doesn't really make that much difference. But if you're buying for the first time, opportunities are going to present themselves. You're probably finding as a first time buyer that you may be competing with fewer investors because lending restrictions are still in place to an extent. So yeah, it does represent opportunities for first timers. On lending, there's no doubt about it that part of the price drop that we've seen is driven by the restriction of credit that's been applied by the lenders. Now in part some of it has arisen from the actions of APRA, the regulator, but also the environment that we're in at the moment around the Royal Commission is having an impact. So I guess all lenders are trying to stay ahead of the game and ensure that they can avoid any more onerous restrictions placed upon their lending. So they're trying to be seen to be doing the right thing, which is great because all it does is it raises the bar. So one area in particular that we've seen a greater review is living expenses. So now most lenders are requiring a detailed breakdown of your living expenses across 11 or 12 categories. Now at the moment they're not requiring, or most of them aren't requiring any evidence, but some of them have actually started asking for transaction statements so they can marry up the split that you provided and that which is sitting in your transaction account. So there's going to be more happening there, but certainly lending is tightening and that will continue to put downward pressure on property prices. I don't expect things to crash. I think the people running this country are probably too smart for that to happen, or to allow for that to happen, but we'll see some softening and that's fine. It's a natural ebb and flow of a market. As always, if there's anything in general you want to discuss or more specifically about your circumstances, then please give me a call. My mobile is 0431 376 008, or shoot me an email and we can have a chat. And otherwise, have a great June and enjoy the weather. It's great out there. Get on my bike. Bye.